If you have ever used an external monitor with a Sony, Canon, or Panasonic camera, then you have almost certainly experienced the biggest compromise in the industry. You can either enable a clean HDMI output to enjoy a full screen image but lose access to your camera controls, or keep the camera interface visible on the monitor and end up with ugly black bars on both sides, a tiny preview, and terrible ergonomics. And every time you need to change the focus point or adjust the white balance, you still have to reach for the small built-in screen on the camera itself. But what if your external monitor could become a true extension of your camera? Not just another display, but the main control center that allows you to adjust ISO, aperture, shutter speed, and even control continuous autofocus with a single touch. Welcome back to ScanVerdict. Today we are taking a detailed look at the Portkeys LH7C, a 7-inch field monitor with a brightness of 1000 nits that completely changes the way you interact with your camera on set. In this review, we will explore every major feature, test its unique capabilities, and find out whether it truly deserves a place in your filmmaking setup. Let us get started. Let us begin with the unboxing, because Portkeys has taken a very practical approach to the entire package. The monitor arrives in a sturdy, well-designed box that provides excellent protection during shipping. The first things inside are the documentation and a premium cold shoe mounting bracket with adjustable tilt. The mount is made entirely of metal and feels exceptionally solid. However, the most interesting accessory in the box is the cable. This is the dedicated TA03Y combo cable, or the TM03Y version, depending on your specific camera model. Take a look at how elegantly Portkeys has solved one of the biggest problems with external monitors. On the monitor side, there is only a single 2.5mm connector. On the camera side, that single cable splits into a full-size HDMI connector and a USB Type-C connector. This one cable carries everything you need. It transfers video signals all the way up to DCI 4K while simultaneously providing full communication with your camera for remote control. Forget about the tangled mess of cables hanging from your camera rig. The monitor itself is built from high-quality engineering-grade plastic that feels both durable and lightweight. It weighs only 245 grams. For a 7-inch monitor, that is remarkably light. If you regularly shoot long production days, weddings, documentaries, or mount your camera on a motorized gimbal, every gram matters. Less weight means less fatigue for both your hands and your back throughout the day. Looking around the body, you will find standard 1/4-inch mounting threads on the bottom and on both sides. This gives you complete flexibility when building your camera rig. Whether you are shooting traditional horizontal video or creating vertical content for social media, the LH7C easily adapts to any shooting scenario. Now let us turn the monitor around and take a closer look at the ports and power options. On the back, there is the industry standard Sony NPF battery plate, which remains one of the most popular power solutions for field monitors. Because the LH7C consumes only 8 watts of power, even a medium capacity NPF battery can keep it running for hours. At the bottom, you will also find a DC barrel input for powering the monitor in a studio environment or from large external battery systems. Portkeys also offers some very clever accessories, including the BD3 and BD4 adapters. These adapters allow you to mount a professional V-mount battery directly onto the NPF battery plate while simultaneously powering both the monitor and additional accessories, such as a wireless video transmitter from the same battery. This creates a very clean and highly customizable power solution for professional productions. Along the top edge of the monitor, there are 4 fully programmable physical shortcut buttons. You can assign virtually any function to them, including focus peaking, zebra patterns, false color, waveform, or any other tool you use frequently. Right next to them is one of my favorite hardware features, a physical screen lock switch, Once your shot is framed and everything is configured, simply slide the switch into the hold position. This completely prevents accidental touches while you are filming, which is especially useful during handheld or fast-paced shooting. The entire user experience is powered by Portkeys' proprietary MOVNORM operating system. The interface feels extremely responsive. The menu system is clean, modern, and organized using large tiles that are easy to navigate. Almost every setting can be accessed with simple taps and swipe gestures. Portkeys has also paid close attention to thermal management. Inside the monitor, there is an active cooling fan. If you are recording interviews in a quiet studio where your microphone is positioned close to the camera, you can completely disable the fan inside the settings menu. With the fan turned off, the monitor becomes completely silent. The only trade-off is a slight reduction in maximum brightness to prevent overheating. When shooting outdoors, you can simply leave the fan in automatic mode and let the monitor manage its own temperature without any additional attention. Now, let us move on to what really matters: the display itself and its integration with your camera. The Portkeys LH7C features a 7-inch Full HD 10-bit display with a contrast ratio of 1000 to 1 and a maximum brightness of 1000 nits. That level of brightness is more than enough for comfortable outdoor shooting, even on a sunny day, without relying on bulky plastic sun hoods. Color reproduction is excellent. The image looks clean, vibrant, and highly accurate, making it easy to evaluate both exposure and color while filming. However, the real magic begins the moment you connect the monitor to your camera using the supplied combo cable. Take a look at the interface. Clean information bars appear at the top and bottom of the display, showing your current camera settings without blocking your composition. This completely changes the shooting experience. You no longer have to reach for tiny control wheels on the camera body or struggle to read settings from the camera's small built-in display. Need to change your ISO? Simply tap the ISO icon on the monitor and select the value you want. Need to adjust your shutter speed or aperture? Everything can be changed directly from the touchscreen with just a single tap. Even white balance presets can be switched instantly without touching the camera itself. If you are using a power zoom lens, you can even control the focal length directly from the monitor. Once you experience this workflow, it becomes surprisingly difficult to return to a traditional external monitor. Instead of acting as a passive display, the LH7C becomes the primary control interface for your camera. Now let us take a look at the feature that truly makes the Portkeys LH7C stand out from almost every competing monitor on the market. Touch focus tracking frame. Most external monitors simply display whatever your camera sends over HDMI. They do not interact with the camera in any meaningful way. The LH7C is completely different. Thanks to its deep integration with supported camera protocols, it offers full touchscreen autofocus control. I simply touch any subject on this large 7-inch display, and the camera instantly moves focus to that exact point. There is no need to reach for the camera. There is no need to use a joystick or buttons. Everything happens naturally with a single touch, and it becomes even more impressive when continuous autofocus tracking is enabled. The monitor creates an active tracking frame around the selected subject and continuously follows it as it moves through the scene. The entire process feels incredibly smooth and responsive. There is virtually no delay between your touch and the camera's response. It genuinely feels as though you are operating the camera's native interface, only now you have the comfort and precision of a large professional display. For solo creators, filmmakers, documentary shooters, wedding videographers, and anyone who frequently works behind the camera, this feature can dramatically speed up the entire production process. Instead of constantly shifting your attention between the monitor and the camera body, every important control is available exactly where you are already looking. Once you start working this way, it becomes difficult to imagine going back to a conventional field monitor. That level of integration is what separates the LH7C from a standard HDMI monitor. It is not simply displaying your image. It becomes an active part of your camera system, giving you faster control, a smoother workflow, and a much more enjoyable shooting experience. Of course, as a professional filmmaking monitor, the Portkeys LH7C comes equipped with a complete suite of advanced monitoring tools. Everything you would expect from a high-end field monitor is here. You get a highly accurate waveform monitor for precise exposure analysis, RGB parade for evaluating individual color channels, multiple histogram modes, fully adjustable zebra patterns, and the industry-standard airy false color mode for fast and reliable exposure monitoring. The monitor also supports anamorphic lenses with multiple D-squeeze ratios, allowing you to accurately preview footage from a wide range of anamorphic optics. For framing assistance, you will find customizable frame guides, safety markers, and composition grids. Instead of applying focus, peeking across the entire display, you can define a custom rectangular area where peeking should be active. Everything outside that area remains perfectly clean. This allows you to concentrate only on your subject while keeping the rest of the image free from unnecessary visual distractions. It is a surprisingly simple idea that makes manual focusing significantly more comfortable. Whether you are filming YouTube content, commercial projects, documentaries, weddings, interviews, or narrative productions, these are exactly the kinds of professional tools that help you spend less time troubleshooting and more time creating. One of the biggest innovations that Portkeys has introduced in recent firmware updates is a tool called Log Stops. In my opinion, this is one of the most advanced exposure monitoring tools currently available on any field monitor. To understand why it matters, let us first look at how traditional false color works. Conventional false color displays exposure using IRE values. While this method has been the industry standard for many years, it has one important limitation. IRE values only represent the brightness of the video signal. They do not directly reflect how much dynamic range your camera sensor still has available before highlights begin to clip or shadows lose detail. The situation becomes even more complicated because different camera manufacturers map their log profiles differently. As a result, the exact same IRE value can represent completely different exposure levels, depending on whether you are shooting with a Sony, Canon, Panasonic, or another camera system. This is exactly the problem that Log Stops is designed to solve. Instead of relying on generic IRE values, the LH7C allows you to select both the manufacturer of your camera and the specific log profile you are using. Whether you are recording in Sony S-Log3, Canon Log, Panasonic V-Log, or another supported format, the monitor applies an exposure model specifically calibrated for that log curve. Rather than showing exposure in IRE, it displays it in exposure stops. In other words, the monitor is no longer showing only the brightness of the image. It is showing how your exposure relates to the actual dynamic range of your camera sensor. With a quick glance at the screen, you can immediately see how many stops remain before highlights clip and how much shadow information is still being preserved. This provides a much more meaningful representation of exposure, especially when shooting in log. Another impressive aspect of Log Stops is its incredible level of customization. The monitor allows you to build your own exposure palette using up to 67 individual colors. That means you can assign specific colors to specific exposure ranges based on your personal workflow. For example, many cinematographers intentionally overexpose log footage by 1 to 1.5 stops to produce cleaner shadows with less noise during color grading. With Log Stops, you can create a dedicated color for exactly that exposure range. Instead of constantly checking waveforms or estimating exposure by eye, the monitor immediately tells you when you have reached your preferred target. It is an elegant solution that simplifies one of the most technically demanding parts of digital cinematography. After working with Log Stops, going back to traditional false color feels surprisingly limiting. Exposure becomes faster to evaluate, more consistent, and far more intuitive. Instead of interpreting numbers or memorizing IRE values for different camera systems, you simply read the image. The monitor provides meaningful visual feedback based on the actual behavior of your camera sensor. For filmmakers who regularly shoot in log, this feature alone can significantly improve both shooting speed and exposure consistency. It is one of those tools that feels unusual at first, but after using it for a while, it quickly becomes something you do not want to work without. I have to admit, log stops ended up being one of my favorite features on the Portkeys LH7C. It is not a flashy marketing feature designed to impress on a specification sheet. It is a genuinely practical tool that helps you make better exposure decisions in real shooting situations. And that is exactly the kind of innovation I like to see in professional filmmaking equipment. So, what is the final verdict? The Portkeys LH7C is far more than just another on-camera monitor that simply displays your camera's HDMI output. It is an intelligent extension of your camera that fundamentally changes the way you interact with your entire shooting setup. Instead of constantly switching your attention between the camera body and the external monitor, everything important is brought together into one intuitive interface. That alone makes the filmmaking experience noticeably faster, more efficient, and much more enjoyable. The biggest strengths of the LH7C are immediately obvious. You get complete camera control directly from the monitor, including touchscreen operation and continuous autofocus tracking. The dedicated combo cable keeps your rig clean by carrying both the video signal and camera control through a single connection. The bright 1000 nit full HD display delivers excellent visibility outdoors, along with accurate 10-bit color reproduction. Professional monitoring tools such as waveform, false color, customizable LUT support, and the innovative log stop system provide everything you need to evaluate exposure with confidence. And all of this comes in an incredibly lightweight body that weighs just 245 grams. If you are a content creator, filmmaker, commercial videographer, wedding shooter, documentary producer, or anyone looking for a reliable external monitor that genuinely enhances the way you work, the Portkeys LH7C deserves serious consideration. It is one of those products that quietly improves your workflow every single time you use it. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. I wish you successful shoots, great lighting, and beautiful footage. See you in the next ScanVerdict review.